Hello today. Well, that's a hell of a mess up. Anyways, in this video today, we will be going over the Magicka Sorcerer for VMA. Well, it's a build I used to complete Veteran Maelstrom quite a bit. Up until the point where I got my Lightning, my Inferno Staves, and things like that. This right here was what I was using to get through VMA, or Veteran Maelstrom Arena. I found that this build helps quite a bit. I have no problems sustaining. I have no problems with my health. It's just overall a pretty solid build. I'm a Briton. When I completed this originally, I was a Dark Elf, but I've been doing it lately on a Briton, and I've done it on a High Elf. So, Max Magickas, I have 64 points into Magicka. I have 37.8k max Magicka. I have 21.4k maximum health. Magic recovery is relatively on the low side, but this is a heavy attack kind of build setup, and it takes me roughly 48 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to complete one run of Maelstrom. It really just depends on how unlucky I am at the poison phase. For some reason why, I don't know why, I just tend to have a lot of times when the little behemoth is shouting, there will be a poisonous spore to spawn up underneath my shield, and it kills me every time. Uh, Resistances is 15.9k, spell 9.6 physical. Uh, if you're worried about resistances, you can always go use Boundless Storm or something like that and have higher resistances, but I found I don't really need them. The boon I'm running is the Thief. If you want more damage, you could always go Shadow, but it'd drop your crit to about 53%. And seeing how we heal off of our crit, every time we crit, I'd rather have more spell crit. But we can go over other ways you can change that out here later. I'm using Double Bloody Mara because it gives me more max health and more max Magicka over Witch Mothers. And I don't really need the recovery because I'm always heavy attacking. So, champion points. 13 into Warlord to help me break free. 31 into Sprinter because I run around a lot. 19 into Bashing Focus. 64 Tenacity. 64 Arcanist. 28 Shadow Ward. And 51 Tumbling because I do roll dodge a whole lot. 19 Spell Erosion. 64 Elemental Expert. 66 Elfborn. 47 Staff Expert and 34 Master at Arms. The reason why I have these kind of switched around is because I'm doing more light attacks and heavy attacks, so Staff Expert is higher for me on this one. And 40 Thermometer, 28 Ironclad, 23 Spell Shield, 64 Hardy, 64 Elemental Defender, 43 Recovery, 23 Bastion, and then this heavy armor focus here. This should be taken out and put into light armor focus. Forgot I was trying out a Briton as a tank there for a little bit. I forgot to take the points out. So, with that, you can see that our resistances will go up to 11.9 on physical. So it's not a huge jump, but you'll have over 10k at least. But that was the end of champion points anyways. So let's go ahead and jump into the gear. The monster set that I'm running is Valken Scoria, because this is going to give us more max health on the one piece. And then when you deal damage with a damage over time effect, you have an 8% chance to summon a meteor that deals 11.4k flame damage to the target, and 5.4k flame damage to all other enemies within 5 meters. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. Found this is probably my favorite monster set to run in Maelstrom. Meteor tends to hit quite a bit. I don't have much of a problem, and it gives me max health. Now, other sets that you can run, or other monster sets, Elabris here, or Elambris, it gives us max Magicka. When you deal flame or shock damage, you have a 10% chance to summon a meteor shower of that type that deals 1.5k damage to all enemies within 4 meters every 1 second for 5 seconds. Each effect can occur once every 8 seconds. This isn't necessarily a bad set to have, but a lot of the times the mobs will run out of the lightning storm or the firestorm, so it's pretty much a wasted set. Meteor will always hit. And then other monster sets you could potentially run with this is, if you wanted to, you could run Groftar, but Groftar is not a bad set to have, But on the poison phase, where you have to get underneath, if it procs, you can kill your shield before the behemoth is done shouting. So I would switch off Grofdar for Valken Scoria, or even Alambris, just something else there that will allow you not, that will have you not killing your shield, that will keep you alive. If any of that made sense, you'll understand once you get to the level. But Grofdar isn't a bad set to have throughout the rest of the dungeon. You're going to lose some max health, but you'll gain max Magicka. Another set is Ice Heart. It's going to give you spell crit, and then when you deal critical damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield that absorbs 9.4k damage for 6 seconds. While the damage shield holds, you deal 1k frost damage to all enemies within 5 meters. This is just a nice little extra shield, because you're going to deal crit damage. You always will. So you're going to get that shield. Infernal Guardian's another one that you can run. Give you max Magicka. When you give yourself a damage shield, you have a 50% chance to lob 3 mortars over 2 seconds at the furthest enemy from you, that each deal 6.9k flame damage to all enemies within 5 meters of the blast area. This is a pretty nice one too. I've ran it with this as well. It's not bad, but I like Valken Scoria, like I said, for the more max health. And then if you want to go more tanky, Pirate Skeleton or Mighty Chudan is a way to go. Maw the Infernal isn't necessarily a bad set either. It gives you max health, and when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack, you have a 10% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedroth for 15 seconds. Daedroth basic attacks deal 5.4k flame damage. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Now, stupid story, real quick, off channel. I was kind of half asleep. It was early. It was 1, 2 in the morning my time, and I was tired. And I was using Maw the Infernal, giving it a shot through VMA, and I mistook the Daedroth as as an enemy. I thought it was mine coming up on me. I was at the last stage, and I don't know why I spaced on it, and I thought it was mine, and it wrecked me. So be careful with that. They do look very similar. The one that summons from the set is not as big as the ones within the arena, especially on the final stage. But if you're not paying attention, you could definitely overlook it and get smacked, like I did. But hopefully that was just me being stupid. Chudan again if you want to be a little tankier, or even Zons, but for the most part you're not really going to get to stay up close and personal on a lot of the bosses, and the mobs die quick enough that you don't really need Zons. So outside of that, that's about all the sets I could think of that would be useful in there. So the first 5-piece set that we're running is an Overland set from Deshawn. We're running Robes of Mother Sorrow set. This is going to give us max Magicka, spell crit, and more spell crit. It's basically just going to allow us to keep our heals, running it all 5 pieces on the body. Now with these sets, you can definitely run them however you want. You can run this on the jewelry and the weapons, and run the other set on the bodies, or vice versa. You can just mix and match. Because we don't have VMA weapons, so we're going to have both 5 pieces stagnated at all times. So the second 5-piece set that we're running is IA. This comes from any of the Craglorn trials. We're running Infallible Mage set. It gives us spell crit, gives us minor slayer, gives us spell damage, spell crit, and your fully charged heavy attacks deal an additional 903 damage. Enemies damage with the fully charged heavy attacks are afflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds. Now I usually do that with I usually do most of my heavy attacking with my lightning staff. And on my fire staff, because fire single targets get increased with Inferno staff, I'll run my single target stuff and my AoEs on my lightning staff arc. The lightning staff increases those, and the flame staff increases single target. So like I said, you can run IA all on the body, and then have Mother Sorrow Inferno and a Mother Sorrow lightning staff, because you can get a Mother Sorrow lightning staff from a quest infused, and then you just have to pick up an Inferno staff, and then the rest should be relatively easy to farm. Other sets you may want to run is that you could drop IA for Necropotence and just run Necropotence and Mother Sorrow. You'll have a ton of max Magicka, and you'll have your spell crit, so you won't really have much to worry about. Or you can run Julianos for more spell damage. When I actually first completed Maelstrom Arena, I was on a Nightblade, Magicka Nightblade, and I ran, this was back before stabs counted as 2 pieces. I had 5-piece Julianos, 2-piece Valken Scoria, and 4-piece Vicious Death. And Vicious Death is a set from Cyrodiil. So it's not, so Maelstrom can be done with a lot of sets. You just gotta, it's all about learning the mechanics. But let me pull up Vicious Death here, and you can see what the 4 pieces of those were at the time. Let me There it is. It gives a spell damage, max magic, and spell crit. That's what it gave me at the time. So, I was mostly a PvPer, and I had 4-piece. So I just dropped the dual wield, picked me up another Inferno Staff, and I just ran with that 4-piece. And then Juliana's. That was it. So, it is very doable in just about anything. So you can use Julianos and Mother Sorrow. You can use Mother Sorrow with Necropotence or Necropotence and Julianos. There's really many things that you can mix and match with it to get through Maelstrom. But when it comes to Maelstrom, one of the main things, it's all about mechanics. You just gotta keep trying it, and you will eventually get it. So, like I said, Mother Sorrow is definitely a set that you want if you're running this type of setup, because we're going to heal off of our crits. So we want high crit. So we want Mother Sorrow. And then the reason why we're running IA is for the minor vulnerability. So that way they'll take 8% more damage from our abilities. And that's just kind of how we work it around. But outside of that, again, you can run anything you want. You just got it's going to take time and patience, and just try to keep your head. If you feel like you're getting frustrated, just walk away for an hour or so, or even a week. So, skills. On our front bar, this is the Inferno Staff. We're running Daedric Prairie. Curse an enemy with a destruction for only doing 10.7k magic damage to the target, and 4.6k magic damage to all other nearby enemies after 6 seconds. While the curse is active, your pet deals an additional 40% damage to the target. You can only have one active at a time. Endless Fury, call down lightning strike to strike an enemy dealing 3.3k shock damage. The enemy falls to or below 20% health within 4 seconds of being struck. An explosion deals an additional 11.9k shock damage to them and 2.4k shock damage to other enemies nearby. If the enemy is killed within 5 seconds of being hit with this ability, you restore 4.8k magicka. So you just pop them with this for an execute, you're going to get some magicka back. So. And if this is the final hit, you're going to get more magicka than you would. You're going to get 3k back. Because this is the cost is 1.8 or 1.9, and you get 4.860 back. So you're pretty much going to get 3k magicka back for killing them with this. This is our shield, Hardened Ward. Conjure globes of Daedric energy for protection, granting a damage shield for you and your pets that absorb 10.7k damage for 6 seconds. Damage shield strength capped at 50% of your max health. Volatile Familiar. Command the powers of Oblivion to send a Daedric Familiar fight at your side. The Familiar attacks deals 1.4k shock damage. Once summoned, you can activate the Familiar special ability dealing 3.4k shock damage every 2 seconds for 8 seconds to enemies near him. The final pulse will stun all enemies hit for 3 seconds. This is why we're running this pet over the Twilight right now. Because with 3 seconds there, it stuns the mobs. It works on, I think I've seen it work on just about everything except the bosses. So, when the stun goes off, it's going to stun everything. Inner Light. While slot, your max magic is increased by 5%. You gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 2.1k. So, front bar, we have Fiery Rage, create a Catalytic Storm. Target's location that builds for 2 seconds and lay waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 8.7k flay damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. Now, when it comes to your ultimates in Maelstrom, it's going to depend on the situation. If you have a ton of enemies up, if you have a lot going on, you're going to want to drop Fire Rage. If it's a single target enemy, then you're going to want to drop the Greater Storm after you're on a pack bar. So, it just depends. Tons of enemies, single enemy. Okay. So our back bar, we have Liquid Lightning, create a Nexus of Storm energy at the target location, dealing 2.7k shock damage to enemies in the area every 1 second for 12 seconds. An ally standing within the Nexus can activate the Conduit synergy, dealing 7.9k shock damage to enemies around them. Blockade a Storm, slam your staff down to create a storm barrier in front of you, dealing 2.1k shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second and setting cuss enemies off balance for 5 seconds. Power Surge. Invokes Meridia's name to gain Major Brutality and Major Sorcerer, increasing your weapon damage and spell damage by 20% for 33 seconds. While active, dealing a critical strike heals you for 2.5k health. This effect can occur once every 1 second. So this is where we're getting our heals from. So we got to deal a critical strike. So that's the reason why we have so high crit. It's the reason why we're running Mother Sorrow. It's the reason why we're running the Thief Mundus Stone. So this right here is our heal. So if we get low, you just drop your dots and you just shield up and run around until you're healed. So plus this right here heal you. Your light and heavy attacks heal you as well. And then you've got to have your pet double barred in order to keep it. If you don't have it, it'll fall off. And then we have channel acceleration. Bend time and space around you. You gain major expedition for 12 seconds and minor force for 36 seconds. Increase your movement speed by 30%, critical damage by 10%. So, and honestly, with setting the enemies off concussed, you're going to get minor vulnerability on them. So, but I've noticed some enemies don't always. Sometimes it works. It's going to work with the amount of lightning that we have. I just like IA for knowing that it's going to be up 100% of the time instead of every so often. So with IA, you're going to have 100% uptime on minor vulnerability, where you won't if you're not running minor vulnerability. If you're just relying on your lightning staffs to set them off balance to get minor vulnerability, you won't have it 100% of the time. Where with this, you will. So. And then our last ultimate is Greater Storm Atro. Summon an immobile Storm Atro at the target location. Its rival deals 8.4k shock damage and stuns enemies for 3 seconds. The Atro zaps the closest enemy, dealing 4k shock damage every 1 second. An ally near the Storm Atro can activate the charged lightning synergy, granting the ally and the Atro major berserk, increasing their damage done by 25%. If you don't have channel acceleration here, and you don't want to do the Sigic to get it, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just put major prophecy on the back bar and just go with it. If you find yourself needing the heals, like the pets are just not enough alone, then by all means use the Twilight here that heals you. This one, you summon the Twilight. Once you summon, you can activate Twilight special ability to heal the Matriarch and up to 2 other friendly targets. So it's going to heal you for 7.5k health. So you can always go with this and just put this on number 5 here and just rock it on both. What's going to happen is that our spell crit will drop a little bit. Like as you can see, it drops to 6.3. Honestly, it did not drop at all. We do not have... Alright, I can explain that. You think with Major Prophecy going off our bar, we wouldn't have it anymore. Or maybe I'm missing something. I might be missing something. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But okay. So, if you don't have Major Prophecy, use Essence Spell Power. This will give you that. If you have that on, then go ahead and use some Crown Tri-Stat Pots. Or Essence of Spell Critical. It's up to you on what you do. But it's always nice to have some health pots that will give you back Magicka as well. But one thing I want to check real quick to see what's going on here. So if this increases our crit. This does. So we have 73.6% crit. Huh. So it looks like... Yeah, Major Prophecy. That's weird. I don't think Major Prophecy is... I don't think it's working like it's supposed to. 73.6. Let's see, I don't think the effects are on anymore. It still has 10 seconds. There's Major Prophecy, and there's Major Prophecy again. So let's see once it goes off if it stays or if it doesn't. Okay, so we still have Major Prophecy. Okay, so it's staying at 73.6% now. Okay, so it's relatively weird to see that happening. So this makes me, I want to check something else out now as well. So we have 73.6% crit with Thief. So you can switch out, you might be able to switch out to the Shadow just for more extra damage, depending on how far you drop. Because if that's the case, then we should still be around 6k or 60% or so. Yeah, 62.9%. So if you wanted to, you can run the Boom Shadow, and you'll still have your 62.9% Shadow. I guess for whatever reason, when I was setting this up, Major Prophecy just wasn't counting toward it until I popped the pot. Or maybe it just got glitched. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Either way, that is pretty much the build either way. So yeah, 62.9% crit. You can run the Shadow. If you don't want to run the Shadow, then you can run Thief for 70% crit, and you'll heal up just fine. You know, you should be healing just about every strike. You have tons of dots down as it is. But essentially, when it comes to it, you're going to lay your dots down, and you're going to lay your dots down, and then you're just going to you'll heavy attack. When you heavy attack, you'll instantly have minor vulnerability on them with A, and then you just switch, and you can go to your Danger Curse, and then just start doing whatever. But this is pretty much the setup that I use to beat VMA. Nowadays, if you don't have IA, like I said, you can always just get Mother Sorrow here or wherever, get it on the body, then get you some jewelry, craft you some Julianos with Valken Scoria here, and that would be a really easy setup to use that does not have trial gear. But yeah, that is pretty much a VMA Magic Sword with no VMA weapons as it is. So until next time, y'all take care.